Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Welcome to this special episode of This Just In Radio. We're broadcasting live from the ViVE 2023 conference in Nashville. I want to thank Chime and DHI for inviting us to their theater. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. We have a terrific leadership roundup show this morning with Chime. The focus is always on the CIO and CSIO. So I brought together a great group of friends and Chime members to join us today. I look forward to all of them helping us wrap up ViVE 2023 with just what some of the priorities are for the CIOs and also hopefully some of the conference highlights along the way. And then Rasu, we're ready, my friend. Dr. Shrestha. How are you, my friend?
Great, thanks.
Great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
So did you speak this morning? Did I see that?
So this was yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yes.
What did you talk about? I love what I saw. I love the social media stuff. So
what I talked about was how do we illuminate the dark side of the moon?
Love it.
Yes, that's what I talked about.
Okay. Well, indulge us.
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting, right? So we had been in a meeting with Best Buy Health about maybe 2+ years ago. And we were talking about the things that we could do to specifically impact health at home. And I talk about home is where the health is.
Yes.
Right? And how we need to really broaden our aperture from the bricks and mortar facilities, the patient-centered approach to care that we've had now for centuries at a time, to more of a person-centered approach to care. Move dramatically away from the episodic care models that we've embraced. Now, not just decades, centuries at a time, to more of an always-on, ubiquitous, continuous care model. And the comment that someone made in that amazing brainstorming session that we had was, the home really is the dark side of the moon. We discharge the patient.
That's a great point.
Patient goes home, and we know nothing.
Right.
And the patient is disconnected and is in the dark until the time that the patient, more often than not, shows up back in the ED.
Got it. That's right.
Costs escalating through the roof. Quality is down. Experience is horrible. And we said, all right, we got to illuminate the dark side of the moon. So we're working with Best Buy Health, marrying it together with our hospital at home program at Atrium Health, which is part of Advocate Health.
Yep.
Yeah. It is the largest hospital at home program in the country.
Wow.
We're bringing in RPM, we're bringing in logistics, we're bringing in a number of capabilities that Best Buy and Best Buy Health are known for. So you know Best Buy for their Geek Squad.
Yeah.
So think about the evolution of the Geek Squad to the Health Tech Squad.
Yeah.
And then, through all of the learnings that we've been putting in place, as well as the proof points, 6,600 patients treated through our hospital at home program. Just amazing.
It is.
Right. So a lot of different opportunities, but excited to share that story.
I love it. So how's ViVE been for you? When did you get in town and how's it been for you?
Yeah, ViVE's been great. Yeah, it's been a couple of days now in town, and I arrived just in time to have dinner at Aaron Martin's house. So
that's great.
Right? Yeah. Aaron and I are good friends, and I knew him, through Providence and all the amazing work that he did there. And he's now back at Amazon, and he had a number of really amazing people for a cookout.
That's cool.
That his wife and he pulled together. And then day one of ViVE was just amazing, just soaked everything in, and it's been great. Yeah,
as my audience has heard, and you obviously see, the innovation here is very cool. Just the intimacy of the show, I think it's like 7,600, 7,700 maybe. We'll get the final count here in a few minutes. But it's just been, it's a great show. It's small enough where you can kind of see everything you want to see everybody that you want to see, and just, not too large where you get kind of lost in the fray. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with it, right? And the thing that the organizers do really well with ViVE is they bring out the energy, as well as they don't beat around the bush, right? They go, right for the jugular in terms of getting to the value of the connections between the C-suite as well as the movers and shakers, the doers on the ground, right? And I think that is really, really important, especially in this day and age of look, healthcare is in a financial crunch, right?
Right, we need to go.
We need to go.
Yeah.
Right? And
Very
on
true.
this side of the pandemic, with everything that we need to be doing in terms of prioritization, in terms of action, this is exactly the sort of dialogue and actionability that we need to have.
Love it. So, yeah, and I think even you may not have heard this, but Steve Lieber, I think on Monday, mentioned that they're going to probably cap this at 10,000 people, so it stays intimate. It stays really action-oriented, to your point, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, as am I. Yeah.
And next year in LA, very excited for next.
That's
February
right. Yeah,
LA.
sunny Southern California, back to where I was a couple of years ago.
You were. Yeah. So, what are some of the trends that, from your perspective, that we should be looking out for in the industry?
So clearly, right, everyone's talking about ChatGPT and AI, right? The AI bubble, just when people are waiting for it to burst, now gets bigger.
Right, exactly.
And, you know what's going to happen to that bubble as it gets bigger. But, the reality of ChatGPT is it is here. It is exponentially more powerful than we've ever known AI to be, even in the form that it is in right now. But at the same time, for me as a pragmatic physician, strategist, innovator, I'm like, look, we've got so many complexities in healthcare, things that are just direly wrong in the way that we're practicing healthcare. I mean, is ChatGPT going to be the Chat CPT, where it's like solving for the things that make healthcare run, or don't run,
yes.
Right? Get it stuck in the mud. So I think there are lots of opportunities. And again, ViVE is a great platform, a great, meeting point for us to, have these types of conversations and really talk about what's real and what's impactful.
Yep. No, excellent point. What are a few strategies? Obviously, you have a great perspective being a leader there at Advocate and Atrium, but what are some of the best practices that you would share with my audience or strategies to be able to successfully navigate either ChatGPT or what's coming out next? And so
when I left UPMC and joined Atrium Health, which is now Advocate Health, one of the things that I wrote on my whiteboard, so this is in Charlotte. Charlotte is now the headquarters for Advocate Health.
Yes.
And just a quick point on that. Advocate is now the second largest academic health system in the country and the fifth largest by revenue, which is huge, right? Yes. So 75,000 teammates from Atrium came together with 75,000 teammates from Advocate Aurora. So we're 150,000 together. So it's pretty amazing. And so when I look at the tremendous amount of work that we're doing to serve our communities, to really push the needle forward in terms of the trifecta of health, learning, and community, which are the three pillars for our Impact 2025, our strategic plan that we launched last year. The one thing that I put on my whiteboard some years back, which I think is really relevant to the audience here, is how do we inoculate ourselves against the shiny object syndrome? We just talked about ChatGPT.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Right.
We're talking about all of these shiny objects that are out there, but in the middle of that shine are those diamonds, those jewels in the rough that, we really need to be embracing and putting into action and making sure that we're able to then translate that to cost savings, to revenue generation, as well as to making sure that we're able to address the dire needs of our patients and communities on the ground.
Yep. So, even kind of flowing with that, what do you see over the next 3 to 5 years, kind of the proverbial crystal ball? What do we need to be thinking about, keeping an eye on? You say, hey, this is going to be big, and it's not quite here yet. It's evolving, and it could be, we talk about, ChatGPT, CPT. What do you think would be 3 to 5 years out from now?
So, I always ask my team, what's different on this side of the pandemic?
Right.
If the pandemic hasn't been a wake-up call for us in healthcare and society overall, then shame on us.
Right.
So what's going to be different on this side of the pandemic? I think we need to, abjectly hyper-focus in on the social impact and health equity issues that surround us, that are the root causes of the many ills that, we're facing in healthcare. I think, to be quite honest, if I could be provocative,
please,
healthcare economics is all screwed up.
Right.
I mean, there is this tremendous disbalance between, just look at the payers and the providers, man. Yes. Right. I mean, look, through the pandemic, we as a provider organization, had to endure months, if not years, of losses, massive losses. And thank goodness that we, got some help from the government and were able to then work with public-private institutions, really bring together the essence of what it means to actually serve the communities. And I'm not dissing the payers. I think they're here for a reason.
Yes, absolutely.
But they had multi-billion-dollar profits every quarter.
Right.
I think that needs to be addressed, let's just say.
Yep. Nope. Excellent point. Rasu, thank you so much for joining us today. You're obviously always a phenomenal guest. I'd like to keep you back on air every 6 to 12 months or so. But Roberta's saying we should ask one more question. So what do you, as a priority for you over the next probably 3 to 6 months for 2023, what's going to be one of your main focuses as an organization? Obviously, you now 150,000 of you came together, so I know there's a lot of work just in that and kind of bringing that ecosystem together overall. But what are some of your main focuses from an organizational standpoint and a strategy this year?
Right. So lots, and we could talk forever on this, but just to hone in on one thing that I'm truly excited about, we're building an innovation district in Charlotte, right? We're calling it the Pearl. It's 34 acres of amazing
land. You break ground, I think.
That's right. We broke ground recently, just a couple of weeks ago, and really excited about this, right? Because I think our collective job descriptions today is that we're curators of ecosystems, right? And that's what we're doing is we're
totally
building an ecosystem. We're building the most innovative medical school in the country. That will, we just broke ground and it'll be up and running early 2025. Right in the middle of the innovation district. We're also bringing in ERCAD. So ERCAD is this global experiential learning surgical simulation center. There are a number of ERCADs in Europe and Asia, one in Africa, 2 in South America, but there has not been one in North America. And we worked with ERCAD and actually built and stood up ERCAD North America, now a wholly owned subsidiary of Atrium, now Advocate. Yep. And that's going to be in the heart of the innovation district. So think about everything from robotics and experiential learning, surgical simulation, AI, augmented reality, etc. Companies like Siemens, Stryker, Medtronic, J&J, Intuitive Surgical. So really excited about that. All partnering, all committed to be part of ERCAD North America. So the innovation district is obviously everything around health, learning, and community. But I'm excited about that being that ecosystem that we're talking about, because I think we need to curate more of that and make sure that we're able to, have the right gravitational pulls that pushes the economic agenda forward and also creates the right jobs as well as the pipeline of opportunities for the next leaders of healthcare.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great component of just Charlotte in general. I mean, yeah, just the care that you're going to bring, the care strategy you're going to bring, the jobs you bring into the area. So love it for that community. Congratulations. You're a great advocate.
5,500 jobs just will be created as a result of the Pearl, and 11,500 jobs in the county as a result of the activities that were. Yeah.
Love it. Congratulations, Rasu. Always good to have you on here, my friend. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great rest of your conference.
Pleasure.
Take care. Thank you. Gil.
How are you, my friend?
Welcome to the show, Gil Bashe, Managing Partner, Chair, Global Health, Fin Partners.
It's so great to see you, Justin.
Thank you so much. See you in person, my friend. We've obviously been on social media together for a long time.
I know. I was just listening to you and Rasu. That was like A+.
He's always a phenomenal
I hope you're going to submit that for some Emmy.
Possibly. He's always a phenomenal guest. Blessed to have him as a friend. And,
he's real. He's real.
Yeah, he is.
He tells it as it is, and he is bold.
Yes. He is. I love it. And also, obviously, always shares great best practices that we all can learn from and take. And also, you see what he brings to the community of Charlotte. So very exciting. But where are you in from? Where do you live full time? Where are you in from?
Well, I often say that my home is a United Club somewhere on the globe.
Oh, geez.
And that's
being
because
with Finn, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're fortunate to have 38 offices around the world. But actually, what brings me from place to place is really to learn and champion health innovation. And, I know that as we look at this meeting in particular, I walk away at ViVE totally inspired. It's a unique gathering of people, like-minded.
Yes, very true.
What brings us together, I think, is we see the woes of the world, and we're compelled to answer the call to action.
Amen. I love that, Gil. So, you kind of mentioned a little bit there, but how's the show been for you? When did you get in town, and how's the show been for you so far?
Came in town on Sunday.
Great.
I've been meeting with scores of people. We're catching up. This is not my first in real life meeting. This is about my 10th.
There you go.
Since this whole journey began. I was listening to you before that this is among your first.
Yeah, well, this is my fourth one since the pandemic. This is my first ViVE, but this is my fourth show, I think, since the pandemic ended. Well, I guess, a couple years ago, technically. Right. But actually I went to HIMSS for 22 years in a row. But yeah, but this, right here is, this is my first ViVE per se. But I think we're on a roll here, and we're going to keep this going.
Awesome.
So, but you have a unique perspective, Combat Medic to CEO, taking on a global health initiative. Why is it so important for us to look globally when it comes to technology, strategy, healthcare?
Well, let me say first that health really is a very personal thing. And you mentioned my background, certainly from my Army or combat medic.
I'm 11 Bravo originally as well.
Okay, so I'm paratrooper. So,
there you go.
So you really see how individualized it is. But going through different countries and seeing the needs of refugees, for instance, you get an appreciation for the fact of what people will do to sustain life, to protect their children. Obviously, Nashville has really experienced a horrific tragedy that among many tragedies we have to address in this nation. And certainly as two veterans, we feel it. We know what these weapons of destruction can do, and we have to address that. Hopefully people will do that in a bipartisan or nonpartisan way.
Completely agree.
But let me speak to the question that you asked just now. The realities are that health is not just a global issue or a local issue. It's a home issue. It's a housebound issue. What happens is that certain things connect all those homes. Information connects all those homes and their aspirations. But we're facing some challenges around the world that are really limiting the potential of what people here at ViVE are doing. The fragmentation of the health ecosystem has becoming so bad, and Rasu talked about that just a few moments ago. The economics of health are not understood from sector to sector. And when I sit with CEOs from different segments of our industry, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, retail pharmacy, they actually don't understand how one another makes money. And because we keep on layering in systems into that, our system here in the United States becomes more and more complex. And that inhibits people's ability to actually access care. So health is both personal, household, it's national, and it's global. But we have in this country a very unique health system. Most countries, Europe, some countries in the Middle East, really have a system of we'll call government sort of structured care. We have a system that actually it's payer-based, it's personal-based. We're going to have to start to learn about how to better navigate that system.
Right. Yeah, when I thought one of the directions you were going to go, and you kind of did, but is looking globally to see how, they're solving actually their own healthcare crisis. And so I remember one time I had a chance to go to, I think it's 2011, I went to Cuba. Because they have basically the best birth rate in the world because of the way they take care of the mother and the child. You have an opportunity to stay at home, but if you don't have 3 or 4 square meals a day for the mother and the child, then you can go into a home and they'll take care of you and give you those 3 or 4 square meals a day.
Absolutely. They're looking at health disparities and they're addressing them on the fundamental level. Let's take that a step further. Hong Kong spends about 7% of GDP on health. We spend almost 20% of GDP on health. Hong Kong, the people of Hong Kong are living 10 years longer than we are here. Most European nations spend anywhere between 6 and 10% of GDP on health. Again, they're living longer. We're living a shorter lifespan. And each generation looks forward to tragically living even a shorter lifespan. So what's wrong with this? You just touched on something that really I think all of us should be aware of. Health just isn't about health innovation. It's actually about caring for people in a home. If they lack food, that's a health issue. If someone has asthma and can't afford an air conditioner, well, guess what? They're going to have an asthma attack. So we really haven't gotten to the fundamentals of what keeps people from being healthier. And as a result of that, we push it off until they're really sick. And then, of course, welcome to the emergency room where care is the most expensive possible.
You got it.
We have a lot to learn from the rest of the world.
Yes, we do.
Where they really drill down on social determinants of health.
Yeah, and I'm just not there to your point. Yeah, totally agree. And I'm a big proponent of everybody traveling as much as you can to learn those best practices because it's not just about technology. And unfortunately, I think, when you were just making your last statement, you made me think about our diet. So not even just, a lack of food in certain communities, in certain areas, and food deserts, but rather how we don't take our food intake as seriously as we truly need to. Because when you bring up those other societies in Hong Kong, they see that food is different to them. They're not eating all these trans fats and these saturated fats on a regular basis. They eat a lot more fish and a lot more healthier food than we do in our...
Well, you're really talking about the rise of the urban diet.
You got it.
And so when we look at China, for instance... Diabetes in China is now skyrocketing.
You got it.
And it's really a reflection of their prosperity is also a downfall.
You got it.
And so we really have to get our arms around this. Now, I just want to touch on something since you brought up social determinants of health.
Absolutely.
We tend to strip away from school budgets healthy lunches and actually playtime,
Yes.
gym.
So
These
true.
are actually, we're starting to realize now that these are really setting the tone for a healthy population. We think that they're extras that are not necessary, put the money into academics. Well, guess what? If we don't start to invest in the future of our young people here in a way that sustains their well-being, we will all suffer, because clearly the economic path we're heading on because of illness is unsustainable.
You got
I
it.
actually say, when people say about our healthcare system, I actually sort of tongue-in-cheek correct them. I say, you mean our sick care system?
There you go.
We're very good at caring for people when they're ill,
Right.
but we don't do anything to inspire their knowledge around self-care.
So true.
The health system actually has to take responsibility for that.
I love it. I totally agree. And I'll even further your point one more with a good friend of mine, Laura Turner Sardell, educated me. Now it's like 10 years ago, but we actually had a whole forum about food, in the creation of food deserts, but also we talked about, you brought up cafeterias in school districts. This is going to, I hope, embarrass a lot of people. And I certainly want this to embarrass a lot of school districts and school superintendents who made this vote. A lot of school districts, if not all of them that I'm aware of, allow ketchup to be a vegetable.
Absolutely. It's a tomato.
Ketchup is a
Right.
vegetable. That is, ketchup is not a vegetable. Ketchup's the first ingredient is sugar.
It's a condiment, nothing more than, and it's sugar.
It's sugar. You're injecting sugar into your child at the age of 5, 6, 7. And that's why, to your point, I mean, that's just one fundamental piece, but I learned that. And I was in shock that they allowed ketchup, which is a condiment, to your point, as a vegetable. Because you had a vegetable. That's part of what the FDA and the government put down in regulation for these schools, is you have to have a vegetable and have to have these different components. So they manipulated the rules.
Listen, we have to have the courage. We have to have the courage to build a healthier society.
Absolutely.
Now, what we don't realize is, to some extent, is because we have economic fragmentation to a large extent, the health system, the educational system, the policy system, all look at their budgets very separately.
Very true.
And no one is saying, wait a minute, if we don't invest here, we're going to spend money over here.
You got it.
Right. And so this is really unsustainable as a society, where other countries are really managing their economics more holistically. I don't have an answer for that, but I do say,
Well, I think you already said it. I think we need to look interoperate together to collaborate better. I mean, I think that was your kind of point.
but at the same time, when we look at health information, and one of your guests on the program was just talking about sharing information, the EMRs.
Yes.
We don't even make EMRs really centered around the patient or even the provider, the health professional. I remember speaking to a nurse about a particular patient. She said to me, I don't have time to read the EMR. So how is that EMR working for that patient?
Right.
If the nurse on the floor doesn't have sufficient bandwidth to access the information. So we're really struggling here. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to continue to struggle. I think to some extent we have to take ownership of the sort of the missteps of the system and start small. It's a big elephant to bite into, a bite at a time, as they say.
Got it.
We have to start to fix some of these fundamental issues. Regarding our school system and healthy lunches and, again, education, let's build a healthier next generation. We can start there, and we can succeed.
Completely agree, Gil. Thank you so much for joining me on air.
Always
Phenomenal
a
guest as
pleasure.
always. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Thank
Got
you.
it. Take care. Have a great rest of your show. Gil Bashe, everyone. Thank you. And that is a wrap. That is what a great show. What a great time. Thank you so much to Chime for inviting us to the theater. My producers, Roberta, Greg Masters, Carol Flagg. You guys have been phenomenal and bring this all together. I'll be honest with you. All the kudos goes to them because I didn't do a whole heck of a lot but sit here and talk. So you guys did a great job. Thank you so much. We'll do it again.